on, everybody? Shout out to my subscribers. Shout out to anybody new coming across this video. Your views are very much appreciated. Comments and feedback are always welcome. Thank you to my subscribers for sticking through. So there's an aspect of change and changing and trying to change that you kind of don't want to necessarily focus on generally, but it's one that you need to acknowledge. And though I understand the idea of not expecting something, to me, if you don't expect this, then it makes it a lot harder to get past when it does happen. So I feel that it's right to acknowledge and to understand and, in a sense, accept before it happens that you are going to screw up. Now, this plays into an idea that I heard this week in a podcast with Joe Rogan and this guy Brian Cox, where he talks about thinking like a scientist means thinking the way nature forces you to think, which is it'll force you to hold two different ideas about something in particular at the same time in your head, because reality is that. Reality is multiple things at once from a bunch of perspectives, but all those perspectives happen at the same time. So it forces you to hold that into something like changing. You're forced to hold to the idea that you are going to try to do better, which you are if you really want to change. But you have to hold to the idea that in that process of doing better, there's a strong chance that you're going to screw it up. I don't know of people who change certain behaviors once and that's it. Never do they struggle with that area again. I guess you could say it on something that's extremely light and easy to change. I can't think of any off the top, but stuff that's just ingrained into you and you've done for a long period of time, realizing that it is not necessarily optimal for you and then trying to adjust that is almost inevitably going to come with the failure at some point. The worst and the part about it that I think leads people to beating up themselves would be when you're immediately faced with it and you're called out on it, and your first thing is to defend and explain yourself, and it's like you have to accept that you can't really even do that if you are actually trying to change, because you're not going to justify what you know is now something you don't agree with. So your old way will quickly come in because that's what you know. And then if you're called on it, you're like, well, yeah, but I understand. I want to. I did it because of this or this or this. And the other person may not really want to hear all that. It's just you think this way now, so you're not acting like that. So I don't really believe you. I mean, yeah, it's a whole other thing. But trying to change, you have to hold in your head that you are going to try to change, but you have to hold in your head that you are also going to screw up. It's going to happen. Or I should say you should at least expect it to happen. That way when it does, it's easier to acknowledge, easier to point out, and easier to adjust on and now use as a point of reference, and find use for, I should say, in a sense, by using it as a point of reference in possibility of the behavior showing up again, or a situation that would lead to that particular type of behavior that you said you're working on changing. So it's an element that it's an aspect where you have to hold in both ideas in your head and act upon life as if both ideas in your head are true. You are going to do better, but you are going to screw up. Just food for thought. Something that I continually work on, especially since I am always looking to try and improve on my previous behavior, no matter how I thought it was. Seeking outside approval is something that I'm still working on not doing. I think that plays its little way in, which I can go into in another video. But it's definitely something that is extremely challenging. Holding the idea that you are going to screw up and being accepting of that to the extent that you don't beat yourself up about it, but you do still look to improve and change on it. That's all. Have a good one.